was I going to say? It's just gone completely out of my head. Yeah, so Harry was just saying about...
It's heavy shit we're talking about.
My mind's gone blank.
I blew your mind.
I know.
The fashion, you're just like totally fashion blue.
My mind is blown. My eyes have been opened.
Yeah, well, but that's what it does. You know, when you break it down and you start, I think it's hilarious that you, like, totally, like, blanked. Because that's how I feel when I discover these little bits and pieces and how closely correlated fashion is to these huge things like politics and the economy.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't understand how, because it has never been really researched properly before, recognised. And then now, as we was thinking about this, you we were saying about the Met, and that is now going to be
crazy.
Yes, and now they're going to be focusing, doing an exhibition, on fashion anthropology, in America.
Well, the funny thing is, so for people who don't know what we're talking about in general, the Met, the Costume Institution's next major exhibition, is a two-part survey of American fashion. So part one is America, a lexicon of fashion, where they are going to, through constructing different rooms in the time period of 20th and 21st century fashion, will be trying to show the expressive qualities of dress and deeper associations with issues of things like diversity, inclusion, that kind of thing. But then also they're trying to emphasize feelings like comfort, anxiety, loneliness, belonging, which is a huge deal. I mean, we're talking about, and this is just part one. Part two.
Just part one.
It really is, and I was like, okay, part one, cool. We're talking about emotions. We're talking about fashion. We're talking about the correlation between contemporary designers and the shifting in American culture. Cool, awesome. And they compared it to Europe and how emotions in Europe, I forgot what article I was reading.
Okay.
But it's how in Europe, fashion and emotions tends to be a lot more intertwined in public.
Yes, actually, I think I saw something about this.
Mm-hmm. It was something that was circulating around, you know, like if you're like us, if you're looking for fashion stuff, it's just one of those things that pops up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw that. Because there was also the thing, there's a Netflix documentary about, I think it's Netflix, about an American designer, and maybe it was kind of to do with that. Yes, that was it.
Halston, yeah. So, okay, super cool. Also, I'm getting nerdy now. I'm getting fashion nerdy now.
Go for it.
To wrap up this Met thing, is that the third part one, which was America, a lexicon of fashion. So we're talking about emotions. We're talking about they're creating rooms that will emulate fashion movements in emotional ways. But also, then the second part, we're talking about the topic is in America an anthology of fashion.
Okay.
Which then will take the development of American fashion and further kind of explain it through the complex layers of history in the spaces that they created. So it's like they build this space, they create the emotion, and then part two is even deeper.
Okay, so I suppose it's like a concept space.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I don't really know. I'm really hoping to take a trip to go back out there, because I used to live in New York. It would be awesome to go see it again.
Yeah.
But, like you were talking about, even with the Halston thing, just talking about American designers and the depths of what actually they kind of achieved is a little bit different, because we do you talk about, a lot about European
Yeah, that was
designers?
exactly it, because I was reading that Halston was really one of the first American designers to be recognised for his own style and for his own reasonings for the designs, whereas before quite a lot of American designers were just seen to be emulating the European designers. There wasn't really much else to it. It's not my opinion, but this is just what I've read, that it was kind of, American designers were seen as just not copying, but the more emotional, the more artistic and deep kind of side from it came from European designers, but the actual style of the clothes was used by the American designers, and it was more of a consumerism thing in America. And I suppose when you think of the US, that is kind of what pops into your head is, consumerism.
Absolutely, and because we are kind of the originator. I mean, Zara did create fast fashion, but we as speaking as an American, I know for damn sure we are people who get bored fast. We want a street fashion. We want it cheap. We want it easy. We want to be told what fashion is.
Yeah.
And that's only a fourth, I feel like, of what the depths of what actually American designers did create, and they maybe because of that American culture around it didn't get as much credit.
Yeah.
There is this amazing documentary on YouTube called The Battle of Versailles fashion show, and it includes Halston. It's actually about it's a historic fashion show that happened in November 28th of 1973 at the Palace of Versailles. It was totally knocked down. It was, it wasn't like knocked down, but it was a mess.
Yeah.
It needed a lot of money for restoration. And so basically, Eleanor Lambert, who is an icon, and if you don't know who that is, you really need to look her up. She basically brought American designers to France for the first time for a fashion show.
Okay.
And so she took Yves Saint Laurent, Pierre Cardin, Emmanuel Ungaro, Mark Bowen, and Givenchy, and she flew over Oscar de la Renta, Stephen Burroughs, Halston, Bill Blass, Anne Klein, and her assistant Donna Karan to put it on this show. And so it was like France versus the American.
Okay, right. That sounds so interesting.
It was like 700 guests, and like Liza Minnelli performed, Josephine Baker performed, Andy Warhol was there. Very Studio 54, obviously.
Sounds amazing.
But it's just cool because it's just like, it's one of those things because Halston is now a hot topic.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that like, even like stuff like this and stuff like the Met, it's bringing more depth to fashion.
Definitely. But do you feel
I think that, that's important.
Yeah, do you feel like there is, obviously these things are available. Of course they are. But do you feel like they kind of should be more encouraged? Like, actually just come into my head that, in school, we would do history and art. Never once really was fashion ever. Maybe slightly for the swinging 60s, but that was only really. I feel like that's the only time period where they might slightly touch on fashion. But then you explore things such as newspapers and films and culture, but fashion is not looked at as a source for